Rebels season for 2020, and back by popular demand is the entire squad on the whiteboard. A couple of you guys asked to revert back to the way I used to do them way back in the day. My first ever video was me sitting in front of a whiteboard on the floor in that one though, but with the entire blue squad. So here we go. There's the Rebels squad for 2020, and yeah, we'll talk about the squad, the schedule, kind of what we can expect from the Rebels and whatnot. Actually, as I said that, I realized I forgot to prepare one thing. Give me a sec. Right, done. What I was going to check is where the Rebels are expected to finish according to the bookmakers. They are 8th equal favourite along with the Brumbies, but by no means favourites. They're well down there, the pecking order, and yeah, it is going to be an interesting one because they are missing a fair few of those big names from the squad from last year. But yeah, I will go over that in a sec. I did do a video on the Rebels season in terms of the season review. I'll put that over there. So if you guys want to see kind of the stats review of the way they played and where they were let down and things they needed to improve on based on that, yeah, check that video out. Otherwise, if you're just looking for 2020, let's get to it. So here's the entire squad of the Rebels. Ainsley, Elof, Erasmus, Masuli, Gibbon Orr, Saanga, and Ruan Smith are the props. Now, the one that I'm most excited about from that list would be Ruan Smith. He's come over from the Reds. The Reds had a powerhouse scrum with him in it last year. So I'm keen to see him help basically bolster that front row at the Rebels, because it wasn't good last year. It was one of their kind of main areas of concern. They've lost Talakai, they've lost Faulkner, but they've still got Gibbon from last year. A lot of the other guys, like Oars from the Force, Elof, I'm not sure, he's come from South Africa. Yeah, Ainsley, you know, he played last year, but Gibbon played kind of as the backup guy. Sanga, I don't think he played, so it's a question mark, but I'm happy Ron Smith there, put it that way. Hookers, they're pretty well stocked. They've got Declan Moore, Anurao Rangi, and Jordan Ulisi. So I don't know much about Moore. I think he's come up from like the NRC squad, but Rangi and Ulisi are both class. Ulysses got his injury problems. That guy needs to stay fit, but if he does, the Rebels should be set. So they got kind of a good 1-2 man combo with those guys. They've lost Hugh Roach, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with the way the Rebels are lining up in the number 2 jersey. The second row, Ha'anganga. Oh man. This guy, Ha'angana. There you go, that makes more sense. He only played like 2 games last year, so I very vaguely remember him. Ross Halep-Petty, Hosea, again, he didn't play. Coglenberg, I think he played for the Sharks last year. He played a handful of games. And Matt Phillips. So they've lost Adam Coleman, which is a pretty big loss to the second row, but Matt Phillips was class. Ross Halep-Petty's, you know, he's useful lock-loose forward. So it's not like a world-class second row at the Rebels, but it's all right. The loose forwards, Cottrell, Hardwick, Luke Jones, Kameni. I don't know him. I think he's come from an NRC contract. Killingworth, again, I think he's come from the 7 side. Leota, Michael Wells, who's coming from the Tars, and Brad Wilkin. This is kind of one area of stability. They've also got Isi Naisarani as well. I think they're pretty well set in the back row. I think that's kind of fine. You know, Michael Wells coming in from the Tars, he's kind of that workhorse player who gets through a whole bunch of tackles, and he's decent line-out jumper, but he's not the best kind of dynamic ball runner, but you've got Isi Naisarani for that anyway. You know, Cottrell will get in there in the breakdown, and Luke Jones is very good as well. So yeah, it's a pretty good back row. Again, it's not world class, but I think it looks better than their second row. 9 is going to be a big question because you've lost Guinea and you've lost Rudu. Those were their number 1 and 2 guys last year. Both of them very good. So they've got in 3 new guys. It's Lamani, Lawrence, and Tuttle. Lamani, he's really good. He's a Fijian. And Tuttle played for the Reds a couple of years ago and was kicking goals and was playing really well. And I'd wondered what had happened to him. He seemed to disappear off the radar and drop down the pecking order at the Reds. But apparently he's been injured. He's had a couple of really horrific injuries with his legs, I think it was. Some people got in touch with me to say, when I did ask the question, whatever happened to that guy. So, yeah, I hope to see him back and fit. And he's a really good goal kicker. So, yeah, we'll see if he gets the kicking ahead of the number 10, who's probably going to be Matt Tamua. The other guy's Andrew Deegan, who's coming from the Force. Don't know much about Deegan. I'm sure if I watched more Force games, then I would probably know him. Any of you Force fans can let me know. But yeah, Tamua, I think, will be the number 1 guy. Obviously, no Quade Cooper. Him and Guinea had a pretty slick thing going last year. So, again, I think that is one of the areas that they need to... Well, I mean, Tamua, yeah, maybe he just fits straight in. I don't know. The midfield is, again, pretty stable. Tom English, Reece Hodge. You can count Campbell Magna there, or he can also be in the outside backs, and Billy Meeks. I think it'll probably be Meeks and English doing most of the stuff there. Hodge can really fit in anywhere, whether he plays in the midfield, the outside backs. The Wallabies have been using him in the outside backs. So I don't know if Dave Rennie's got any plans for Reece Hodge and if he's going to communicate that to Dave Vessels. We will see. Outside backs, Andrew Callaway, Marika Korobidi, Harry Potter, Samisi Tupou, Dane Hallett-Petty, and possibly Jack Maddox. There's talk about him being traded off to the Tars, but I'm not sure what the deal is with that. I haven't heard any kind of firm news about that. So Callaway, he used to play for the Tars. He's a useful player. And Harry Potter controls himself not to make a joke about magic. Harry Potter is up from the NRC squad. Apparently he's a pretty useful. I think he's English born, winger. So we'll see if he gets some game time. The commentators will have a ball with that guy. Dave Vessel's obviously in charge, 3rd year for him. Needs to have a full season, I would say, is the thing for Dave Vessels' side. They've come out of the blocks 2 seasons pretty well and then really fallen off the pace. So I'm not sure if that's kind of to do with the management style or what. But he's got a fair few talents in that squad. He's retained enough of the squad to still be useful. The front row guys, if they can step up, because like I said, that was always an area of concern. They've got the outside backs. They've got the midfielders. None of those guys are like the midfielders, like English. I mean, Hodge, if you count him. Like English and Meeks, they're not really favoured by the Aussies in terms of the Wallabies selections, but they're both really good players. Very good for Super Rugby. So, I hope we can see more out of the squad this year. But as always, it's usually up to your forwards to get the backs that ball anyway. So we'll see how that goes. Possible starting 15 for the Rebels. You could have Gibbon, Ulysses, and Smith in the front row. Phillip and maybe Ross Hallett-Petty in the second row. I'm not sure. That's a bit of a question mark. Luke Jones, Nasarani, and Cottrell in the back row. Tuttle and Tamua 9 and 10, but you could put Lamani in. He's really good too. Meeks in English midfield. Maybe Maddox, Dane Hallett-Petty, and Korobidi. Korobidi was really good last year, so he's got to start. If no Maddox, then you can put Hodge there. Put Hodge in the midfield. You can basically put Hodge anywhere from 10 to 15. So how that goes, don't know. All accounts are that that Maddox is probably going to go, but I guess we wait and see. He's also a pretty useful player. Missed out on the World Cup squad as well. So yeah, I think it's a solid Rebels squad. Definitely good enough to compete for that top spot in the Aussie Conference. Definitely good enough to get into the playoffs. But it's just that consistency over the course of the season that they really, really have struggled with under Dave Vessels. And I do like him as a coach. I think he's doing really good work. But I think we need to see that shift now to get that just added bit of consistency. Like last year, was it the last game where they got thumped by the Chiefs in a kind of do-or-die match? Like, you can't just be having that. Sometimes when they're getting beaten, they really get beaten. So yeah, anyway, it was still some good moments in the season last year. I don't want to totally kind of rag on them. How does their schedule look? It's okay. Starts in Japan, away to the Brumbies. Then their next 3 of their 4 games are at home. Then they've got a bye, home to the Sunwolves. 3-game stint in the middle is probably going to be that point that decides, do they make the season or does it break? They go away to Cape Town to play the Stormers, then away to Buenos Aires to play the Jaguares, then they're back in Australia to play the Reds away. If they go on a 3-game losing run there, then they could easily go on a losing run for the rest of the season because you got the Crusaders, the Blues, albeit in Melbourne, Waratahs away, bye, and then finish the season off with Brumbies, Chiefs, and Reds, just with the Chiefs one away, the other 2 at home. Those are going to be really important games. Home against the Brumbies, home against the Reds, competing for that final spot. Well, the top spot in the Aussie Conference. Those could be make or break. So, yeah, I do like the start in Japan, though. I think that's a good... If you're going to have all the Aussie Conference teams have got to make that trip to Japan, have it in the first week, you kind of get it out of the way. And you can head to Japan early and get you guys all set up. But, yeah, that's the Rebels team for 2020. Man, my screen's looking awfully blue. I swear it's not that dark. But, yeah. You guys let me know what you think about the Rebels' prospects for 2020. Do you think this is finally their year to crack the playoffs? Or do you think they will just be that slight bit of disappointment about them again? So, yeah. I think that was everything I was going to mention. 8th favourite, according to the bookies. Cheers, guys, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.